In this video, you'll discover what most online coaches get completely wrong about having authority online to get clients.
The exact moment a prospect decides you are the one to buy from.
And finally, how to become the obvious choice in your niche faster than building a social media following.
Hello, my name is Anthony Moneri.
I'm Ty O'Shea.
And over the last 3 years, we've generated $1 million with our coaching business. We help online coaches through 15-minute solo podcasts without posting on social media.
So what does it actually mean to be an authority? Well, this is made up of two ingredients. First, legitimacy, meaning you have credentials, a track record, a job title, something that gives you real legitimacy on paper.
If you're an online coach and you've gone through a painful problem yourself and you've solved that problem for yourself, in that sense, you still have that sense of legitimacy. You had a problem, you solved it, you're legit.
Now, the second ingredient is influence, the ability to change people's behavior. And behavior really comes up to how someone thinks or what they do.
True authority is when you have both legitimacy, meaning you're perceived as an authority, as well as you being influential, meaning you're able to influence someone to take an action.
If you have credentials on paper and you're a well-paid, high up in your organization at a corporate job, say a board member, but no one listens to your ideas, you're nervous in meetings and don't speak up, then you have legitimacy because on paper you have authority, but you have no influence and it's not making any difference in the real world in your day-to-day. So you're not really a true authority. Whereas someone much lower down the ranks in that same organization, a junior, new, temporary, fresh out of university, new employee, could have no credentials on paper, but have amazing ideas and have charisma and everyone listens to them. Meaning the junior team member has influence. In the practical sense, they have more authority than the board member. Now, the same applies in the online space to online coaches trying to hit consistent 20K profit months through building authority that allows them to get clients easily and regularly. You can build influence and create actual authority for yourself, or you can just create legitimacy and only have perceived authority.
So the goal for most online coaches is not only to build perceived authority, but to actually have influence over their audience. But here's what most online coaches are doing instead. They're just focusing on posting on LinkedIn, posting on Instagram, Facebook, repurposing their content, trying to show up everywhere with the aim of building a massive following, whether that's 10K, 20K, or 50,000 plus followers, in hopes that the perceived authority they're following will translate into true authority and sales.
But having a big following only gives you perceived authority. It creates legitimacy, but not necessarily influence. Meaning it doesn't guarantee you'll drive sales. Just having followers doesn't give you actual authority.
And that's why you see so many people online who have 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 followers as online coaches who are still struggling to sign clients. Whereas there are some other online coaches with tiny followings who are making a killing because they actually have influence over their audience. Whereas the other coaches with massive followings, they don't actually have authority. They just have the perception of having a big following.
Which brings us back around to the question, can you really build authority without social media?
Yes, you can. Now, you might be looking like Pikachu, hella confused, thinking like, how the hell is that even possible? To be honest with you, both me and Ty stumbled across this realization by accident over 6 years ago.
This happened when we launched a best-selling book with no Instagram, no LinkedIn, not even a profile, and a Facebook group with 200 members.
The book did tremendously well and was a bestseller because we sold tens of thousands of copies to business owners who were looking to grow podcasts.
Now, like you can see here, these are just some of our old podcasting books. When you type in podcasting on Amazon, they're the first thing that comes up, meaning that even though we had no Instagram, no LinkedIn, basically no Facebook profile, when our competitors were running laps around us when it came to having a following online, why is it that we still ended up being the ones that made sales and had a result like this? Multiple books on page 1 of Amazon and the go-to in our space when it came to podcasting books.
Because by ranking on page 1 of Amazon, we had the legitimacy. When a business owner was looking for how to launch a podcast, they found our book on page 1 right at the very top of Amazon. So they perceived us to be an authority. But what was really important here is the fact that they also took action and bought the book.
Legitimacy, as we can see it again here by this diagram, would be having the following. But in the moments when people were actually looking to solve their problem of either starting a podcast or growing a podcast, and they were typing in, if they read books, they were typing in on Amazon podcasting or podcasting books, we had the influence because our book showed up as the first result and they looked good. You know, they were professionally done. They had reviews, etc. It didn't matter about the legitimacy in the moment of intent. When someone went to look for a book around podcasting, we were the obvious choice. So we had the influence and therefore the true authority.
Now, most online coaches screw this up massively because they're just obsessed with just looking like an authority rather than being a true authority that can drive leads and sales for their business. So here's what this looks like. They end up posting on every platform,
Chasing followers and engagement,
repurposing content nonstop.
hoping visibility magically turns into clients.
And of course, the result is they may get a bigger following, they may be perceived as an authority, but they're not signing clients consistently. All of this hard work to look like an authority, and the results aren't signing clients consistently.
Compared to becoming the obvious choice means showing up when prospects are actively searching.
Where you don't need a big following on social media in order to actually be the authority.
But you're there to answer the exact question they have and be the exact solution people are looking for.
And as a result, because you meet them in that moment when they're looking for a solution to their painful problems,
And you're the obvious choice.
they listen to you and they actually become clients of yours.
So, can you really build authority without social media?
Yes, you can, but only if you're being found at the exact moment when a prospect searches for a solution to their problem.
Which doesn't happen on social media.
It happens on search platforms.
Now, for example, Amazon, if it's books, Google, if it's just blogs or a website. Now, if you're watching this, you're probably not looking to suddenly drop everything you're doing and invest months, if not years, into becoming an SEO expert to rank on Google. Or you're probably not looking to become an Amazon SEO expert either, which is what we had to do to get our podcasting books to rank on page 1. Thankfully, there are other search platforms which are way easier to master that most online coaches have no idea about.
Joshua was able to use this strategy and was able to book 4 high-quality sales calls, close 3 deals, and generate $16,000 in sales using this methodology we're about to break down. So what exactly was this methodology?
Well, I'm glad you asked. It was a 15-minute solo podcast that ranked on page 1 of Apple and Spotify, and you can see the cover for it here on the right in Joshua's case.
But why did this work so well for him to sign high-ticket clients without needing social media? Well, I'm glad you asked. This is the process in order to find the solution to their problem. They have a problem, step 1. Step 2, they actually open up the platforms Apple and Spotify. They're not going to go on TikTok. They're not opening up LinkedIn. They're definitely not opening up Instagram to find solutions to their painful problems. They open up Apple and Spotify. And then they search in how to get better, in this case, at sales for a landscaping business. And what do they do? In that moment, because Joshua was ranked on page 1 of Apple and Spotify, he meets and he appears in front of that prospect looking for a solution at the moment of intent. And the moment of intent in this case being when the prospect has a painful problem and they're actively looking for a solution. That's the moment of intent. And guess who shows up? Joshua. So they listen to his podcast. They then build trust with him, as you can see here, and then they're able to become a client when they hear him speak and provide his call to action. This is a process that online coaches are currently using to be found by ideal clients who are looking for solutions to their problem. Now, the question is, why solo podcasts specifically instead of what most typical coaches do, which is interview shows?
With an interview show, you have a podcast and people think you're the authority versus actual authority. With a solo show, you have a podcast and actually have the ability to generate leads and clients from that same podcast because you're the one giving the insights, sharing the value and building the trust with the listener as a solo podcaster. Whereas in an interview, it's actually the guest who does that and therefore builds the actual authority with the listeners and signs the clients.
Now, why Apple and Spotify specifically? If you wanted to compete among the sea of other books that are publishing on Amazon right now, you have 44 million other titles to compete against. If you're trying to post on social media and cut through the noise, you're competing against billions of posts being posted probably every month. Don't quote me on that, but a boatload of content being posted on these platforms. Whereas the 50-minute solo podcasts that rank on page 1 of Apple and Spotify, there are far less competition. There are a total of 400,000 active podcasts at the moment, which means there's a huge opportunity that most online coaches that are going broke unaware of, they could have a much easier way to build authority and sign clients without having to play the social media game where there's tons of competition.
So, as you can see here, the smart online coach has forgotten about posting 5 days a week on social media and has ditched it for a better approach, 15-minute solo podcasts. Now, if that interests you, or if that seems like it might be a better approach specifically for you to build authority and sign clients without social media, then subscribe to this channel, where our aim is to help you build an authentic personal brand that generates 20K a month profit consistently through 15-minute solo podcasts without needing social media.